Hi, my name is Paige. Welcome back to my channel. So today's going to be one of those monthly wrap-up videos, but before we even get into that, I need to address this now. This channel hit 500 subscribers. Actually, it's 520 something now. And not so long ago, it was about 400, and I never got to address it when it hit 400. And I definitely need to address it now because I am so genuinely just grateful to you for subscribing and commenting. I love reading your comments. I love responding to them. I love getting book suggestions and getting your thoughts about the books that I've talked about. So if you've subscribed, thank you so much, and if you haven't commented yet and talked to me, please do. I understand being like the silent viewer because I personally am that like lurker type, but if you comment, I am like definitely going to respond to you. Thank you so much for being supportive, and really this channel has brought me a lot of joy. Recently it's been tough because I've been in school and I've been really busy and just stressed out with all of that stuff, as you probably saw in my last vlog, but having this channel and seeing your comments and seeing how you subscribe, if you make your subscriptions public, just getting those notifications really makes me happy, so thank you. So let's talk about the books that I read in January. There were only 3 of them, so this is going to be sort of a shortish video, but I was very, very pleased with the books I read, especially the first one that I'm about to show you, which is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So I finished this, I think, early January. When she announced that she was coming out with this book, her first adult fantasy novel, I was so excited. I think Leigh Bardugo is one of the pillars of young adult fantasy, so realizing that she was gonna actually branch out and go into the world of adult fantasy, I was so excited to see what she came up with, and I was not disappointed whatsoever. This is a wonderfully strange and magical and weird book that I enjoyed so immensely, and it follows a girl named Galaxy, or Alex for short, who is kind of like, she's lived a pretty shady life, sort of. She got tied up in drugs and stuff as a young adult, and so she's never pictured herself going to college, especially like an Ivy League college, but something happens where she's involved in a multiple homicide, and through that happening, representatives at Yale come to her because there's like these secret organizations in Yale, these like secret houses, Ninth House, that are like magical. They are like societies of wizards and witches, sort of. So they approach Alex because they suspect that she has the ability to see greys, which are like basically ghosts. So she's asked to join the Ninth House, which is like this organization of spellcasters who look over the other Yale organizations, like the other Yale underground organizations, to make sure that they're not doing anything like illegal or more illegal than it should be. I don't know. This being an adult novel, there are some themes in here that you really should think about before you read it. There is drug use mentioned, rape, sexual assault, all that kind of stuff in this book, and the best way I can describe this book is just, it felt somehow familiar to me, like the setting, maybe because I go to sort of like an older college, like my campus is pretty old, maybe it's because of that, but I felt really like attached to the setting of Yale and like these different tombs or houses, so like it just was really inviting to me, but at the same time it was so bizarre. I am deeply, deeply in love with all of the characters in this book, and when I say that, I'm really not exaggerating. I love Alex with my whole heart. Just see, like, it's so rare that you get to see a protagonist like her who has struggled with drug addiction and who has gone through some serious trauma and is trying to like fit into this box, this like newly made box for her at Yale, and just seeing that like dynamic between who she was and who she's trying to be is so interesting. I also am totally just head over heels for Darlington, who, if you have not read the book, is so incredibly interesting. I love everything that I get to learn from his perspective, and Dawes even. So interesting. The sort of social anxiety that she has was so... Oh, I just love this book so much. I just love it so much. Like, I was so happy because I didn't want to have high expectations for this book and then be disappointed, and I was not. It did take me a while to finish, so if you are starting this and you're at the beginning and you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on, I don't understand, don't worry. you'll understand in time. It's worth it, in my opinion. And the only thing that I'm mad about is that I don't have the sequel. Okay, so the second book I read during January was The Ruins by Scott Smith. I talked about this obviously when I hauled it, which was not that long ago. I got it at my library sale before. Yeah, I got it at a library sale because I had watched the movie maybe a couple years ago and was really intrigued by the plot line, like the basic idea of the story. So I was excited to read the book because I think I remember that the movie fell a little bit flat for me. So this book is like a horror thriller. It's follows this group of friends, 4 friends, who go on this vacation to Mexico, and they end up on this like adventure through the Mexican jungle, accompanied by these like 2 new friends that they've made at their resort. And they get trapped at these like Mayan ruins. Like the Mayan villagers like trap them there on this like ruin with all of these like weird plants growing on it, and they're like not allowed to leave. And that's, I think, all I'll say about the plot. I think it's pretty obvious pretty early on like what the enemy is in this book, but it is good. Like, it was what I was expecting it to be, I think. I probably expected them to move around a little bit more because, like, I don't know why I expected that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know why I expected that. Most of the book, I mean, takes place in on the same hill, on the same Mayan ruin. I guess I just kind of expected maybe that they would go other places more, but that's fine. Wouldn't make sense if they moved to other places. There is quite a lot of gore in this book, which I anticipated that, and if you're uncomfortable with that, then probably don't pick this up. Personally, it churned my stomach a little bit, but I was fine with it. It is pretty graphic though, so. The thing I think I enjoyed most about this book, even though the horror aspect of it was interesting in and of itself, was the characters. So the characters are kind of set out to be these sort of walking stereotypes, but Scott Smith spends so much time sort of developing or like diving into their characters that it was just so interesting to see how they progressed and how they handled the situation. There were parts where I was like annoyed with a character for like making a stupid decision or just doing something I didn't want them to do, but at the same time I was like, I kept thinking like, how would I react in this situation? Like, how would I handle just being trapped in like the Mexican jungle with all of this stuff happening to me? And I just couldn't come up with an answer. I even asked Troy like his thoughts on it, because I was like, what kind of dynamic would we have? Like, I'm one of those people, I feel like, I don't know if you're the same way, if you can like comment and let me know, but I feel like I'm one of those people, if I was put into a situation like this book, and you won't totally understand the situation until you've read the book because I don't want to spoil anything, but if I was in that exact situation, I'm fairly certain that I just get out, you know, I just leave that situation, because like, there's nothing good. Like, at some point you realize like there is no way that we're getting away from that. Like, there's nothing that can be done, and there's just at some point it was just such suffering and such misery and pain, and I was like, anyway, maybe that just makes me like a coward or something, but like, being in that situation specifically, no thanks. Okay, finally, we have the third book I read in January, which was The Au Pair by Emma Rous. This is a contemporary fiction. I believe it was either released in 2019 or 2018, so it's fairly recent. I've never read her work before, but this was suggested to me as an audiobook. So when I listened to the audiobook, it was dual perspective, because that's the way the book is written. Half of it is in the perspective of a woman named Seraphine, who is the daughter of, or she's technically an orphan now, but she's like an older adult. She's in her 20s. And she has a twin named Danny. And when they were really young, their mother committed suicide or jumped off a cliff one way or the other. And so she starts to investigate that mystery, and in doing that, she's like investigating the history of the au pair that her and her twin brother had when they were babies, or when they were born. So it's split between her perspective and the perspective of the au pair back in time. So her perspective is recent, it's like modern, and the au pair's perspective, when it switches to that, is like in the 80s or the 90s, whenever, you know, she was babysitting for the family. And the whole mystery kind of comes back and surrounds the day that the twins were born, because like that is also the day that their mother jumped off the cliff, and so like a lot of weird things happened that day, and just the whole town is like just like there's a lot of rumors surrounding that. I was actually really intrigued by this book. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. I try not to read synopses when I don't have to, which is why when I do hauls, I have to read the synopses, and I'm like, that's fine, because I want to give you guys an idea of the books that I get. But generally, if I was just buying books, I would usually just get books based off of titles, covers, recommendations, because I don't generally like to read synopses because they give a lot away. But anyway, I didn't really know what to expect from this book, and I was pleasantly surprised. It is a very twisty mystery novel, if you know what I mean. Like, there were tons of twists and turns, and one thing was answered and then another thing was like, how did that happen? And like, it was the whole book practically. Like there wasn't really an answer until the end, really. If you want to call it an answer. It's just, if you are planning to read this book, be prepared to be confused and like anxious and just like yeah. I also do recommend the audiobook. I can see why people recommended it to me, because both the narrators were really good in my opinion. And that's really all I have to say about it. The characters themselves, I can't think of an attachment that I had to them. Really, I was caught up in the mystery of it. And I don't really have a lasting impression from the characters themselves. They were fine, I'm sure, but kind of like flat in some ways, which is fine. But like I said, not really the main appeal of this book. The main appeal is that mystery and like the setting and coming to the conclusion or the resolution of that mystery. Anyway, that was all the books I read in January. Before I wrap up this video, I wanted to let you know that I am going to do a bookshelf tour soon, and that organization video that I promised. I just can't do it today because we have Dungeons and Dragons later on, and I have to kind of prepare for that. But I actually am planning that video, and if I can, I will film it tomorrow and get it to you as soon as possible, because I know a lot of you were hoping or like looking for that video. On that topic, I'm looking for a new way to document my books. I used to use a like Google Docs where I just like put all of my books in there with the authors and like in no specific order, but that's really not working for me anymore. So if you could leave a comment below and let me know how you do it, and maybe that'll like inspire me for ways that I can also do it. I'm thinking maybe Excel spreadsheet, but that also gets really messy. Like, I'm not sure if there's an app that's like a trusted app that I can use to just sort of put all of the books in there, but I could really use it like yesterday. Anyway guys, if I don't have that organization video up for you this week, it'll be next week. And either way, I hope you have a great week. If you are also experiencing the snow and the cold right now, stay warm, keep your sweaters on, drink your tea. I know I definitely have. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for 500 subscribers. I am truly out of my mind happy. So I will see you next week. Bye.